Harrison Price for Monday, July 21st, 2025, coming to you from the Nation Network studio, built by Arbor Lee here at the historic Wall Center. In this show, a presentation of Bet365. Matt Harrison alongside Blake Price, four-time Juno Award winner Mike Rogerson, hitting switches and conducting things. Did you enjoy your weekend?
It was fine. I was in Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
It's a decent game. Nice enough weather. Yeah.
Did you get a smoked meat sandwich?
I didn't. I tend to hunker down on the one day that I've got there and just work. So
can't pop out for a smoked meat sandwich.
I mean, no, I did.
You got to eat.
There's a bagel joint near where we stay.
Did you get a bagel? St. Urban.
2 bagels.
Attaboy.
Very good bagels.
Good bagel city.
Yeah, very good bagel city.
Mm-hmm. Mike, you enjoyed the BC Lions game, or at least the watermelon smash on the plaza?
Had a great game. Great time. I performed well.
Yes.
Oh.
Distinguishing himself from the team? Is that what that was?
I think I could have played better than Rourke, actually.
Oh, wow.
Little known fact about Mike. Yeah, four Junos, and he can smash a watermelon like nobody's business. I was like, please tell me there is video of you smashing watermelons.
I didn't want to disgrace the team.
One thing Mike doesn't have, though, is a lot of height. I'd be worried behind center getting that ball over the offensive line.
Oh, I thought you meant the velocity of the watermelon smash. Oh, from a higher distance comes a better smash.
No, I'm focused on I'm better than Nathan Rourke's comment. Low center of gravity is great for log rolling. Not as good for quarterbacking.
Right.
Fair.
Yeah.
Had a marvelous weekend. I got to the Vancouver Canadians nooner on Friday. Nat Bailey in the summer is just my happy place.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And I made it out to Ribfest.
I saw you tweeting about that.
More on that as we
said
talk
hi
about
to
our
Yellow
friends
Dog
at Yellow Dog. Let's start, though, with our Whistler Golf Club poll question asking you, do you like the Dakota Joshua trade? You can vote yes, you can vote no. You can vote depends on the next move. Do so at the Harrison Price X and YouTube channels. What says you?
I think I kind of voted on this on our little emergency podcast, but for those that missed that little technical debacle.
And it was a technical debacle.
It depends on the next move from me.
Through no fault of Mike's.
No.
We'll make that clear.
Transmission debacle, we'll say that. I think it depends on what the next move is. If it's, for instance, and everybody's just connecting the dots and saying it's Jack Roslovic. Well, again, if it's Jack Roslovic, I need to know what that contract, because I'm not a Jack Roslovic fan, but if they get Jack Roslovic for a song, well then, yeah, okay, I'm interested in that. That's, I think of Pius Suter contract 1.0, if you get him for super cheap, by all means.
Yeah.
If they use this for a trade for a bigger, better player, and there would presumably be salary included in the trade as well to create enough, then I'm absolutely in favor of it. If it's Jack Roslovic getting all the remaining salary dollars to the penny, basically, I'm less a fan of that.
And you can say up to $4 million. It depends on how you want to cut the roster, whether you want to cut it at 23 players, 22.
Yeah.
I mean, you could even set a 21-person roster.
But Jack Roslovic at 3.9 for 2 years. I'm not super excited about that. Again, we'll have to see, but that's why I'm voting depends on the next step.
Yeah, I'm voting depends on the next step as well, and I'll explain further. But, just the fact that we're on, I guess it was July 18th, and we have to move money out because we still haven't figured out the second line center. Remember, it was going to be more expensive not to get that second line center. Once again, we are in more expensive.
Mm-hmm. And again, there's going to be a lot of comparisons. If it's Jack Roslovic, you're going to get a lot of comparisons to Pius Suter then at that point. Pius Suter's the devil you know. Jack Roslovic is the guy you don't. And Pius Suter works in this system, works with these players well.
Well, he worked in the Tocchet system at the very least.
Which Foot was front row seat for.
Yes.
Could always re-implement.
We don't know how. But, Pius Suter at $4.125 million is looking better and better as this summer goes along.
Yeah, it's not my favorite number either.
It's a 2-year deal at 4.125.
Yeah, I don't love that deal. I'd like it to be a few $100K smaller for sure.
I like that deal a lot.
But it certainly looks palatable at the very least.
Mm-hmm. And I don't believe he got any trade protection either, Blake.
Yeah.
It was a flat. Yeah.
And for 2 years, again, that's a nice, easy thing to digest. It's not a catastrophe, even if there's, pretty major regression. So
we will have our Whistler Golf report later in the program as we look at the Open Championship and Scotty Scheffler's magnificent victory. So get yourself to the voting. Yes, no, or depends on the next move. Our top story brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery. Another mistake out the door. That is the underpinning logic from Canucks management as they trade yet another recently signed player for little to no return, sending Dakota Joshua and his $3.25 million annual salary to the Toronto Maple Leafs, 3 years remaining on that deal, for a fourth-round pick in 2028. It is now a long list of players that this management group signed or acquired only to cap dump them in relatively short order. Dakota Joshua, Andrei Kuzmenko, granted he was part of a trade package, Ilya Mikheyev, Danton Heinen, again granted, Vincent Desharnais, Daniel Sprong, Anthony Beauvillier, Eric Brandstrom, Curtis Lazar. And they wonder why they have trouble attracting free agents. Some of those guys had trade protection and had to waive.
Okay, so the exercise here is, are there any of those players that you decried their acquisition when they arrived in Vancouver?
Well, in your case, Desharnais.
Yes, but then you decried their arrival.
Mikheyev was a very beefy contract for what he is. They had grander hopes for Ilya Mikheyev from what he was and then what he turned out to be.
But even if Ilya Mikheyev performed as he did as a Toronto Maple Leaf, he may never have left. Like if he was a 17, 18 goal guy, he
had a knee injury, to say the least.
Yes.
Yeah. But let me just ask you, do they have a pro scouting problem, or is this just guys close enough to the fringes of the roster that this sort of turnover is to be expected? Is this an agile front office that responds to a changing marketplace, corrects mistakes when they recognize that they've made them? Or is this a group that just has trouble identifying players who are going to work for them?
Okay, didn't love Heinen as a profile of a player. Didn't love Desharnais absolutely as a profile of a player. But we have to be careful about putting guys in both boxes. Dakota Joshua was ballyhooed as a pro scouting success.
Correct.
It's only he's actually out of that category. He's just in the category of bailing on newly signed contracts. He's not a newly acquired player per se. This is his second deal with the Vancouver Canucks, not signed with the Canucks, but that he'd been on. So he's not in both of those categories. He's just in the bailing on a new contract category. And as I said, this was a slow team. They got Mikheyev to bring in speed. I think there's a lot of reasons for a lot of these acquisitions. I'm going to go with the more agile side of things than anything else. I mean, I think we saw Anthony Beauvillier and guys like that, and we thought, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like that player makes sense. And then the player was just terrible. It was not a good fit. And, we saw that with who's the other guy they sent for the signed out of Dallas, and then they sent a boy?
Riley Stillman.
No, the forward. Penalty killing forward.
Jason Dickinson?
Jason Dickinson.
Okay, he was previous regime.
But I'm saying sometimes you just acquire a guy. It doesn't work, and you got to move on. And, you don't necessarily fault the acquisition because the profile player made sense at that time.
It does hurt you going forward with free agents, right? When you have this many brought them in and then quickly move them out stories. That part is fair?
We're talking about fourth liners who don't have as much cachet. As we have chronicled, most middle line players and on up have levels of trade protection now that should guard them in the first couple of years
Joshua,
of a contract.
Kuzmenko, Mikheyev, and Heinen, I think, were all players who could have anticipated being here longer than what they actually were.
Yeah.
Well, Sprong, too, given that he lasted a minute. But Desharnais, too, probably.
But they also know the industry they work in. And it's not like they're getting less money. They're still getting every dollar that the Canucks promised them, just via somebody else.
Well, Mikheyev. Did Mikheyev get bought out, or did the full salary move to Chicago?
No, there was a buyout there. Or retention at the very least.
Sorry, there was retention from the Canucks, but he's getting every dollar.
Yeah.
Yes. Like I said Friday, I dislike most things about this trade. I dislike having a clear cap space in mid-July because most of the UFA centers, or most of the UFAs are gone, and I dislike that you're having to do so to find your center, still not here. Dislike that you have to move all this money out to because you took on Evander Kane at full freight. Dislike the increased pressure this now puts on Evander Kane to perform and likely in the top four. Dislike selling low on Dakota Joshua, only getting a fourth. Dislike further.
Is that selling low, though? Like, I don't think it's selling low.
7 goals and 7 assists last year. I mean.
Oh, selling with him at a low ebb.
Yeah.
I think it meant just they got a low return.
Well, that too.
But that's what you get for a 7-goal guy. That's not a low return.
I mean,
how many career
goals? Is he a
7-year
goal guy, or because the previous year was an 18-goal guy?
How many career goals does Dakota Joshua have? Not many.
Over 82.
40 career goals, and he's 30 in 6 months. He's got 40 career NHL goals. Fourth rounders.
The previous season, he was 18 over 60-some games. It prorates to a 23-goal, 42-point season. Last year was 7-7. It prorates to a 10-goal, 20-point season. Nevertheless, you further depleted goal scoring, which is the area of weakness on this team. You further depleted size in the lineup. Of course, not the biggest team. You further depleted penalty-killing options from a unit that wound up being third best in the league. And you traded a guy who had proven chemistry with Teddy Bluger and Connor Garland. The trade is redeemed if the player they bring in with these cost savings is an upgrade. But I have our friend Frank Corrado echoing in my ears. We asked him last week about all of this, and he said, who's out there that makes you better? Okay, Roslovic. I'm with you that on an appropriate contract, yes, I think you can argue he makes you better. Or the trade is redeemed if Dakota Joshua continues to be the player that he was last year, because $3.25 million for a 20-point guy is overpaying. And the club reportedly had issues with Joshua's motivation. You remember he was healthy scratched at one point beginning of last year by Rick Tocchet. Felt like they had to continuously kick him in the butt to get him going, that he required a lot of coaching, and apparently worries about his hip injury as well that he suffered last year. And, as Blake says, he's 29 now, so perhaps the 18-goal season of 2 years back, perhaps that's his Mona Lisa.
Looking more and more like a one-off. I mean, even with that padding his stats.
Well, you say that, but the guy battled cancer last year. Let's see if he's fully clear and healthy for the start of training camp, what he is this year, right?
Yeah, and that's the role. And I was...
judging him on last year is more unfair than judging him on the previous year. Is that...
The previous year, the
18 goals.
See, but then I'm going to go back to 22-23. Go back to 22-23. Okay. He plays 79 games, his longest season. He has 11 goals, 12 assists for 23 points. I think that's Dakota Joshua. See, that's my guess. That's my concern, is that is Dakota Joshua.
That was in 11 minutes and 31 seconds of average ice time. When he was up to 14-23 in the middle season with the Canucks, he was the 18-goal guy, and last year he fell back to a shade under 13 minutes per game. So
that's only 2 shifts. It's putting a lot of water there in the bucket of those 2 shifts per night. I mean, from 13 last year to 14 the previous year is what I'm saying. So,
or 6 shifts between the.
Now, I'll be honest. I was curious. I was, for the Canucks' sake, hopeful for them that he and Höglander could both be closer to their previous selves. So I won't be walking both sides of it. I was curious if he could have a bounce back. And I wasn't going to hope that he was a 20-goal scorer, but if he was a 17-goal scorer next year, 16 goals, that'd be pretty helpful for the Vancouver Canucks.
Well, and let's remember, and we do this, and every market does this, so it's not like it's a Vancouver thing or a Canucks fan thing. But the moment a player is gone, you see all the warts, or talk about all the warts. The moment a player is acquired, you talk about all the great things about a player. Let's remember that at this time last year, or 13 months ago when Dakota Joshua re-signed, we were talking about how rare a profile this is in the NHL. A guy that big with those sorts of hands who can score in those net front traffic areas. Mm-hmm. That remains true. Can he get back there? Big question. But again, last year he has a pretty good reason, right? He's fighting back from testicular cancer and surgery, which is not just a physical ailment, but needless to say, something that can affect a human being on the mental and emotional levels as well.
If that's the reason, we have to be honest with ourselves at this point too. That Dakota Joshua, who will turn 30 before the season is, in the playoffs, he'll be 30.
Yes. He'll play all of next year at 29 for the most part.
So he reaches that age, and you're only now getting to the peak of Dakota Joshua. Like, the NHL values size and hands. Yeah. So is it that he was undiscovered for a long time, or is it that the inability to bring that game out on a nightly basis caused him to not be noticed?
And I think it's a little of column A and a little of column B, but again, 13 months ago, this market would have said it's absolutely column A, that he's just a late bloomer, that it took him more time, that this was a great find by Canucks Pro Scouting. They took a fringe NHL player and they turned him into not only a useful NHL player, but a top 9 NHL player who the previous season had penalty killing value to go alongside 18 goals. And frankly, if he doesn't break his hand in Chicago, in an honor fight, he probably makes more than the 3.25. And we probably feel even better about him because he's, I would suspect, has a 20-goal season on his resume.
Instead, what we've got is, and again, last year is actually pretty much the same pace as his first year with the Canucks. So we've got, on terms of pace, we've got a
little below, but
3 full seasons here almost of evidence, and 2 of them look the same. One of them doesn't.
Yep.
So
he's probably a third of a point per game guy, a 27-point guy.
I'm not cheering against him. I hope that he has some success, but I am skeptical of it. I think and until it happens, this is not a guy that had done it 4 years. If this is a perennial 18-goal scorer who goes down to 7 last year, well, then
different story.
It's a different story, right? So it's just the infrequent success that he's had makes me skeptical.
Yep, and all of that is fair. What is undeniable is that the Vancouver Canucks, for the moment, right now today, are a weaker team than they were on Friday morning with Dakota Joshua under contract and in their purview.
They have less potential for sure.
We will see where they spend that space, whether they make a wise decision with it or a poor one. And again, if Joshua goes on to be the player we saw last year, then you're happy you got off this contract. That can be a win too.
Because remember, folks, it's
irrespective
this year,
of how
it's this year and 2 more.
Right.
3 more years at this price.
But again, 4 years at 3.25, a lot of people were saying, hey, great deal for the Canucks. Now, the Canucks seemed a little more apprehensive about that deal than Canucks fans when it was signed.
And you wonder how much because it did feel like they were sort of biting on the bit as they gave that to him.
Now, the other thing we should say, we mentioned this Friday, but this now provides opportunity until they fill the spot. And they may very well fill the spot with a center, in which case everything changes. But as we sit here right now, this provides more opportunity to make the team for someone like Linus Karlsson, and Arturs Baines, and Max Sasson.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this Latvian forward they signed, or maybe this Russian center that they traded for, or Jonathan Lekramack even. But would you rather have Joshua than one of those guys? I can see some Canucks fans saying no. I could see some Canucks fans saying, I really love the cut of Linus Karlsson's jib. I think he can do some of the things that Dakota Joshua did, and I think he can do it at a fraction of the price.
At 13 minutes a night,
$7.75 as opposed to...
If you give Linus Karlsson 13 minutes a night in a pretty decent spot, I'm very certain through 57 games he'll have more than 7
goals. Yep, I would agree with that as well. And again, a little unfair because we're talking about a guy coming back from cancer, so it's not your typical injury.
But it's about bets, right? It's about bets. I'm very certain of that. I'm less certain that Joshua can outrun his own numbers, by a significant margin. Like if you gave me the bet, exact same ice time, exact same opportunity, Linus Karlsson in the same spot versus Joshua next year, I'm probably betting Linus Karlsson, given the exact same opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I am.
Well, and especially contextually, the 18 goals was playing mostly alongside Connor Garland, right?
Yeah.
Who, as we have since found out, is a better player.
And has outrun that slotting.
For sure. For sure he's outrun that slotting. All right.
Ready to talk about your Ribfest adventures?
Ribfest is a huge deal for our friends at Yellow Dog. It's at Rocky Point Park.
Is that the one right across the street from the brewery?
It is right across the street from the brewery on Murray Street. So I'm texting with our old friend Grady Sass, who lives at Suterbrook Village there in Port Moody, and I say to him, hey, we're going to Ribfest today. And he goes, good luck parking. And I go, I was thinking of parking in one of the pay lots in one of the towers there at Suterbrook. He goes, even those are full, Matt, on a weekend. They can be at least. Blake, we drive Murray Street because I want to show my brother where Yellow Dog and all the brewers are. There happens to be a spot at Yellow Dog. Like by no shortage of a miracle. So we are parked across the street.
Amazing.
Then we walk over. It's by donation. It's run by the Rotary Club of Port Moody. And I got the fleets of volunteers they had at Ribfest were extraordinary. You finished a plate, there was somebody there with one of those big gray bussing bins ready to take all your food waste, your cutlery, your plates, whatever. The place was whistle clean. There was nothing on the ground. They did an amazing job.
Wow.
The food was, needless to say.
So did they have sauced ribs and seasoned ribs? Did you have your pick of the litter, or is it all sauced?
I saw mostly sauced.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you're at that level of barbecue, you're doing it with the sauce, Blake. You're not just seasoning.
Just seasoning?
Anyways, there were, and of course, the different rib outfitters are sitting there trying to lure your business, showing you all the trophies and whatnot. There's ceramic pigs everywhere. It was good fun because they're all looking for your vote, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I got to say, the band, great fun, called the Sons of Stanley. They did Lovers in a Dangerous Time, more the Bare Naked Ladies version than the Bruce Cockburn version. Mm-hmm. And during the instrumental, The guy rapped a verse from Tupac's Changes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And this became a thing. Mike, you would have loved this because obviously musically, they all know music. You all know music more than I do. So whether it's in the right, what's the word for it? Key?
Okay.
The lead singer found raps that he could drop into the instrumentals of popular like rock and pop songs. Okay. All day long this was going on. We were having a blast. Ribfest. I will be back.
You know what would go great with that?
And of course we had some Yellow Dog.
An ombre tropical margarita from Yellow Dog. Don't pin them into a musical corner. They'll start dropping lyrics on you as well. Yellow Dog Brewing, you're thinking, oh, just ho-hum beer. No, how about this? The ombre tropical margarita, tasty bev, bursting with pineapple, passion fruit, creating juicy tropical flavor and just the right amount of sass. Ready to sip, ready to fiesta. Check it out from Yellow Dog.
Okay, we have to pause here for a moment, though, because seasoned ribs, no sauce? Did you catch this, Mike?
I heard that.
So you have cooked ribs in your life where you've only seasoned them, no sauce, and thrown them on a grill?
Well, yeah, it doesn't have to all be sticky, wet ribs. No. It doesn't always have to be that. No.
We're talking barbecued pork ribs.
Yeah.
Here. Seasoning, no sauce. You've done that.
I don't make ribs at all. I've never done that, no.
Oh, okay.
No.
You've had that.
Yeah.
Interesting. I will need to be edified here by our audience and our barbecue and pit masters. I was in Memphis once, and I went to a famous rib joint, and they had ribs like that were sort of light on sauce. Mm-hmm. I didn't like them very much.
Well, they have to be not overcooked because then they get too dry.
Seasoned ribs.
Dry rub ribs. Yeah.
Dry rub ribs, no sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. To each their own. Takes all kinds to make the world go round. I got to say, though, we were a little bit daunted because we're in the line. And that's the other thing. The line's moved super quick. Really good job of working the cash. Very well organized. You see the racks of beef ribs, and you just say to yourself, could I possibly eat all that? Because the biggest problem is, what are you going to order? It all looks so good. It all smells so good. But I showed restraint, stayed away from the full rack of beef ribs. The Brontosaurus package, if you will, the Fred Flintstone. But I saw people walking around. You know, they give you the takeaway containers. They don't even fit in that. They're bursting out of the takeaway containers.
Tell me you've had beef dry ribs at least.
Well, I've had beef ribs.
Yeah.
So Dollywall reported Friday they've been talking to Roslovic, but so have other teams, and nothing was close at the time. So this wasn't a Jim Rutherford special in that you make the first move knowing you have the next deal done. We've seen that before, right? The Miller trade and then the Marcus Paterson trade. Frankly, the Horvat-Roenick trade, I think, fell somewhat along those lines. The Beauvillier-Zadorov deals. Roslovic last year played 81 games, scored 22 goals. 17 assists, 39 points, 14 minutes, 12 seconds per game. And Blake, this is a career season for the young guy. He's he'll turn 29 next year, mid-season. And shouldn't say it was a career season because he has gotten to 22 goals before he has gotten to 45 points, exceeding last year's total. And that was in 13 minutes, 49 seconds per ice time. You said on an appropriate contract, what was it, a 2-year deal at, did you say 3.9?
I said I would not like that if they fill up every penny with what they've got remaining. So, like, my
this is
example,
a guy who was available for almost nothing a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, he has bounced back.
22 goal seasons will do that for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would be excited for the Canucks if it's a 2-year deal at 2.9. Like, that's the swing, right?
Okay, so then you save a little bit of money on Dakota Joshua on a year-over-year basis.
For a guy that can slide to the middle.
You're committed 1 year less for a guy who can slide to the middle and is a right shot.
And has done it on multiple occasions. He's got multiple 20-goal seasons. Yeah. He's a multiple high 30, 40-point guy.
Well, his 82-game averages are 16 goals, 24 assists, 40 points in 14 minutes and 12 seconds per night.
In how many minutes?
14-12. Mm-hmm. Dakota Joshua's averages are 13.5 goals, 13 assists, about 26.5 points, playing 12 minutes a night. So So if this is the move, then you are getting more goals in your lineup. At least you should, based on what they've done in their NHL careers to date, and particularly Roslovic coming off a good season. But you're not getting a ton more goals.
Ton more points. And as the center, distributing
13 to 14 more points. Okay.
That's a lot.
Well, he's not really a distributor.
He's got a 33 assist season under his belt.
All right. Last year was 17. Mm-hmm. So half that.
No, it was 22 last year. Or last year was 17, sorry. Yeah. The year before was 22.
So, which brings me back to the Frank Corrado comment. How much further ahead are you? Like, you're not that much further ahead.
No.
Like, the exercise was to add to your group. They've done a fair bit of subtracting from their group.
If they get, and again, we'll have to, it's a big if. If they get a level of cap savings here, whether that's in the AAV or in term, because again, if they sign Roslovic to a 2-year term, even if it's for the same amount of money as Dakota Joshua, they're getting cap savings there in that 3rd year. So if it's cap savings and effectively you've moved that player into the middle with a slight performance bump, it's probably still worth it. But we have to see it before it happens.
I guess. And, we'll go through this exercise this week and as the summer goes along, and certainly after whoever is added. But right now, you have moved out Dakota Joshua and Puce Suter for Evander Kane and, let's say it's Roslovic. Is that much better? That's more deck chairs for me than it is real improvement.
It's what they are. You know what it looks like they're hoping they can do? Stay competitive for 2 years until they get out from OEL. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of what they're doing is they're reducing what their cap is going to be for the first couple of years of the Quinn Hughes extension that they still are hoping against all hopes they can get. And then secondarily, they will be looking at a massive bit of cap space coming out of the OEL badness, which is a net of about $3 million, I guess, because they still have to pay $2 odd.
I just got a call from Brad from Yellow Dog. I wonder if he was enjoying the Ribfest talk. It's a big effort for them. They move a lot of beer into the Ribfest.
I'm sure.
Great grounds, too. I'm sorry, Ribfest. It was new to me, and
I thought you'd been before.
No.
Oh.
No. Never been before.
I'm really hungry for ribs.
You should go. You should go next year. You'll enjoy it. The kids will enjoy it too. It's fun.
Colin and planning. I'm not sure I follow Matt, who will go off about condiments, but can't fathom ribs with just seasoning. If you're doing ribs properly, you don't need sauce. Wow, Colin. You have just stumbled upon a major paradox here. Barbecue sauce is seasoned ketchup. Why all of a sudden so loyal?
No. Barbecue sauce is far more sophisticated than ketchup, both in its construction and in its taste.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Ketchup is tomato sugar water, Blake. It is designed
barbecue
for
sauce is tomato sugar
water
and a couple
of
spices.
Bunch of other. I was looking through the ingredients of the barbecue sauce we bought. There's there's all sorts of things in the barbecue sauce. Things that children would never get near.
What do you mean? Kids love barbecue sauce. What are you talking about?
No, but I'm saying some of the individual ingredients.
Thank you, Colin.
Dollywall also says they're not done. We haven't heard the last of Byram. Canucks are still interested. That makes zero sense. I'm wondering if the agent is putting one over on Rick. The agent needs to drum up a market for Byram because he's still a Buffalo Sabre. He doesn't want to be a Buffalo Sabre.
Like that would be a massive overhaul.
Like in what world? Like you're spending your money on Byram? Come on.
It would be a massive overhaul of the Vancouver Canucks to do that because that would be the only thing that makes sense. But again, you've just I think they love Hronek. He's the only pedigreed right shot guy that they've got, like that's in his prime. Mm-hmm. Like you're not moving Hronek, you're not moving Paterson. You just signed the guy. You moved heaven and earth to get him.
Mm-hmm. But they switch gears on players quickly, as we discussed earlier.
They've been ballyhooing his leadership. There's no chance they're moving him, unless it's part of a Hughes deal.
I was just going to say, the only way that Byram makes sense at this point is if you have to trade Quinn Hughes. It's the only way it makes sense.
It is the only way that makes sense, yeah.
The lawyer from Prince George, John Cooper, is your head coach for the Canadian men's Olympic entry at the 2026 games in Milano Cortina, Italy. Have you seen the Ray Romano, Sebastian Maniscalco
commercials? Yeah,
the top of a ski jump or a snowboard run.
Yeah,
they're already pushing the Olympics.
Yeah, they were running on Apple TV in our matches.
They're running everywhere. Yeah. Like they flooded the zone this week.
They really did
of sports programming. NBC did previewing or building up the Olympics.
By the way, have they ever changed courses from the Mike Babcock Team Canada years to John Cooper?
Yeah.
These are very different droids.
Yeah.
Those are not the same profile of coach.
Does anybody know who led the tournament in scoring? Does anybody care? Let's take the greatest collection of hockey talent ever assembled and turn them into a bunch of checkers on the big ice in Sochi.
Yeah.
Bruce Cassidy will serve as one of the assistant coaches. Rick Tocchet will serve as one of the assistant coaches.
Who's that now?
Rick Tocchet of the Philadelphia Flyers.
Right.
Peter DeBoer of the unemployment line will also serve as one of the assistant coaches.
They could be good this year.
They have just taken the coaching staff from the Four Nations and brought it over to the Olympics. And why would you change anything after you win the Four Nations? This is Doug Armstrong, the St. Louis Blues general manager, skippering the Canadian side, assisted by Julian Brisebois of Tampa Bay, Jim Nill of Dallas, Kyle Dubas of Pittsburgh, and Don Sweeney of Boston. Every single one of these coaches or managers works for an American team.
Well, I mean, I don't find any. I'm not going to point to that. I mean, that's 25 of the 32 teams are based there.
Mm-hmm. I'm just saying.
That's just happenstance.
When they had Tocchet, they had a coach in a Canadian market.
Yeah.
Now they don't have that anymore.
They are Canadians nonetheless. Mm-hmm. Mostly. Cooper has,
in fact,
dual.
Outside of Kyle Dubas managing the Leafs, Tocchet coaching the Canucks, I think that's the only. I know Nill came up the ranks, and some of these guys would have come up the ranks and spent some time in Canada. But anyways, that's the coaching and management stuff. Who could have any quibble with John Cooper? With all due respect to Paul Maurice, I still consider John Cooper the best coach in hockey.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty close to each other.
At this Maurice stage has his second Stanley Cup now, so he's right there.
And 3 straight visits. So,
Tampa had 3 visits.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they lost to Colorado.
Is there any sense that he's
I'm just
no, but should Paul Maurice be the head coach?
Well, no. Could you argue he belongs on the bench?
On the staff, at least?
Yeah, you sure could. Yes, you absolutely could.
Like, you got a guy who doesn't have a job right now on that staff. Would anybody have said, boy, that's weird, DeBoer's not here, and they brought in this scrub named Paul Maurice? Would anybody have said that?
No.
Like, you tell me the chemistry of the Four Nations face-off was so lights out. They were like, gotta have Pete back. The guy who's been to 3 straight Stanley Cup finals? Nah, gotta have Pete back.
So they called Paul Maurice and said, Paul, would you be interested in an assistant coaching job with the Canadian team on the Olympic bench? And Paul said, do I have to shake anybody's hands after the game is over? If the answer is yes, then no.
Now, he might have been, guys, I've had a crazy busy year the last 3 years.
Or it might have been just Cooper got in there because Tampa was good before Florida was good, and so he was the most deserving Canadian coach, and that was that.
No,
and,
I don't think
and
it's
he hasn't
Cooper.
given up the job yet because all they've done is win.
Yeah, I don't think it's a Cooper gripe. It's a where's Maurice on the staff gripe more than anything.
And then I noted this from Chris Johnson, NHL Insider, TSN, and the Steve Dangle podcast. So Johnston thinks there will be a play-in format for the NHL and the Stanley Cup playoffs when there's a change in commissioner. He said there's big interest in that from below, and needless to say, if you're an owner, you want as many meaningful games as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the opportunity to get into a play-in and, at least claim you've had some success or in a postseason or give your fans that game is better than not having that.
And the playoff ratio has never been more punitive than it is now, right? Like, again, they used to have 16 of 21 teams make the playoffs. Yeah. We're nowhere close to that.
And we know Gary is not a fan of the play-in. I don't know why he's, other than what he cites, which is half our teams make the playoffs. Honestly, to play 82 games to eliminate half the field, for me, is fair. You're not leaving any teams out that could be Stanley Cup champions. I think that is also clear. So to me, you have achieved fairness, but I also see it from the fan side that, you want something there at the end of the rainbow, particularly when you have some of these teams that are otherwise playing out very, very long
20 of 32 teams making does not offend
games.
me. 20 of 32 teams making does not offend me at all.
So Gary's the roadblock there, and Johnson thinks it's going to change, and he thinks it's going to be one of the big first changes when a new commissioner comes on board. And that talk is going to heat up, Blake, because now that this CBA deal is done.
That was it for Gary, right?
I mean, unless he wants to be the guy presiding over a 34-team league and more expansion, what is there left to do?
And he may very well mistakenly think that that's what he needs to leave as his legacy. But at the same time, anytime people bring up retirement, Matt, what does he say?
He says he still feels young. He still has a lot of energy.
I don't think I have any plans to go anywhere.
Vigor. Do you think it'll be Bill Daly?
Yep, I think it'll be boringly Bill Daly.
Because that's just the way
it goes. Yep.
And that would also be part of Gary's legacy. If I'm Gary, though, I'm stopping at 32 because, Vegas
the next ones will be risky.
Been a success, or at least in the eyes of the public. Again, we will see how Vegas does as a market when they have a shitty hockey team, which they've never had. Seattle has been mostly miss, I think it's fair to say. It was not a particularly great honeymoon period for the Kraken. They did well in year 2, won a playoff series, but it's been downhill since then.
I don't think it's been a miss. I think it's at risk of being a miss going forward.
And put it this way, I don't think Atlanta and Houston, or we'll see if they go anywhere else, I'm not sure the markets you have left are going to be, grand slams. I think if you're going anywhere, you're going for no other reason than the pure, unadulterated greed of these governors, knowing these are revenues they don't have to share with players.
Yeah, I don't know why
Well, I shouldn't say that because I don't know the CBA, but I imagine that was something that was also stayed the same in the new CBA, that they don't have to share that.
It would be the only way to explain why the least prosperous of the big 4 sports would be the biggest league. Like the biggest league should be the most prosperous league, you'd think. But for the NHL, it's the least prosperous of the big 4, big 5 if you include MLS. Well, MLS would be the least prosperous, but it's the least prosperous of the big 4, and the only reason it would be the biggest league would be because they love them expansion fees.
Well, yeah. In some cases, you have really terrible owner-operators who can't make money or don't make enough money to satisfy themselves. Mm-hmm. And, of course, they don't look in the mirror and say, I'm the problem. They look at Gary and say, how can we grow revenues? I got to make more money. And Gary says, well, let's expand. Let's get to today's menu. It's brought to you by Greta. Great spot to catch all the games, home and away, pregame, postgame, steps from the arena and stadium. Greta YVR are going to be part of Punch Bowl July 26th, Rose Disco July 27th, and Country Club Festival August 9th. They're also going to host the official after party for all those events. Plus, coming soon, a Stampede-style Country Week from August 5th to 10th. Tons of giveaways, contests, themed events, and, of course, country music. If you need a venue for your next team-building event, check out Greta. Go to gretabar.com. 50 West Cordova. Greta, let the games begin. Well, J-Pat was away last week. We had lots of catching up to do with Jeff.
Yeah.
On the two trades, Dakota Joshua and Arturs Silovs, but also on the schedule release. Spent a lot of time on the schedule, and again, it's a very manageable schedule for the Vancouver Canucks. And I know teams have gone away from publicly griping about schedules because they feel like it lets the players and coaches off the hook. It gives them an excuse sort of thing, so you don't hear a lot of the public discourse that you used to.
Also, just the tall poppy thing. No one likes to gripe about these sorts of things anyway. It just makes them look weak.
No, but what I'm saying is there have been schedules that have landed for the Vancouver Canucks where I've looked at and gone, oh, boy, this one's going to be – this is not one of them.
No.
This is one that I think, especially when you consider how condensed all the games are for everybody because of these breaks we're taking now in February, this one for the Olympics, it's doable. Like that should – this schedule should produce 95 to 100 points for the Canucks if they are the team they think they are.
Yeah, if this team does not have success, I think it's the players on the ice that'll be the issue.
Right. We'll talk in the final segment about a huge weekend for the boys of summer. Whitecaps nearly there. Lions not quite there. Toronto Blue Jays absolutely there.
Crazy.
I just can't get over how it's now the confidence I have in watching them. I'm like, yeah, they got this game. Like, you go back 2 months ago, and I'm like, oh, man, they're going to find a way to lose this one, aren't they? Now I watch and I go, yeah, they got this. Because the bottom third of the order, with like Ernie Clement and Nathan Lucas, I have confidence.
So it's one of the top.
That they're going to start a rally.
It's a top 3 bottom of the order in the league. That's why.
Blake, they strike out the least in baseball, just over 15%. If they were to continue this over 162 games, it would be the fewest strikeouts for a major league team in 3 years.
Wow.
They talked in spring training about 1 through 9. Okay, yeah, you're looking at our lineup and you're saying, okay, Guerrero, Bichette. Bichette's got to bounce back. Santander is Jimenez isn't really a big bat. Varsho's more a defender. They said, no. 1 through 9, we're going to be a problem for opposing.
Well, both the M's and the J's probably going to make a deal here in the next 2 weeks, too.
And the M's, the way they pitch, like especially those starters. It is fun baseball right now.
They're talking about adding a bat. The M's
teams.
are.
Oh, I know.
The Jays are talking about adding pitching. Mm-hmm. We'll see what happens.
And if you're a fan of either team and you're a fan of the Vancouver Canadians who play fun baseball as well, this has been an awesome summer. Mm-hmm. Time now for our Bet365 bets of the day, Blake. I took BC to win the football game.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
They did not.
No, they did not. No, they did not.
No.
So fire away.
Well,
unless you lost.
We're in golf hangover. I think I had the Whitecaps. Did I?
No, you didn't.
No, I didn't. I think it was Lions as well. Oh no, I got mine. You know what it was? It was Calgary. Remember on the money line?
Right. Boy, that St. Peter's team is surprising.
Just rolling.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
we're in hangover country from the Open Championship, but there is an event this week, and it often provides some of the middle-class players.
Is this the Twin Cities?
It's the 3M.
Yeah.
To make some hay. And for a Canadian, maybe a chance to, Canadians have done well, in opposite fields and in smaller events and that sort of thing. Maybe there's a chance that a guy like Taylor Pendrith could get a top 5 finish on a tournament like this. So I'm going to look at Taylor Pendrith, top 5 plus 600 for Pendrith.
Chicago Cubs are the best team in the National League, but they'll throw a bullpen game tonight against one of the good young starters in the American League, Kansas City's Noah Cameron. You're getting good value on the Royals with a pitcher the Cubs have not seen before, and he was lights out when he first came up. Kansas City plus 130 at Wrigley tonight. The segment of presentation at Bet365, whatever your bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game, use code NATION when doing so. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. J-Pat coming up next. Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center.
You know, the Simply Spiked has been in Canada since 2023. They use juice experts, Matt.
Real juice.
Don't think that just because you've consumed juice that you are a juice expert.
They are, or they use them.
They have juice experts. That's why it tastes so darn good. 3 different flavors to choose from: peach, lemonade, and my favorite, limeade. And within those variety pack boxes, those are just the themes. But there's different flavors of limeade, of lemonade, of peach. Go check it out. It keeps the spice of life alive throughout the summer because of the different flavors that you've got.
And think of all the hangouts you're having now with all the people and their different beverage tastes. You got people at the cabin, you're doing barbecues, you're doing pool parties, you're in the backyard with folks.
And with this weather right now, the hangouts are coming nonstop. 5% alcohol by volume, must be legal drinking age. Please celebrate responsibly. Have some fun with Simply Spiked this summer.
The drink of summer. Let's welcome Jeff Patterson back from vacation and back to the program after a week in the Okanagan. Hello, Jeff.
Hi, guys.
So, you missed a few things. It seems on this show, once one element of the show goes on vacation, shit happens for the Canucks.
All hell breaks loose.
So, because Matt was off the day that they made the Evander Kane trade.
That's right.
And then I thought I was safe. You know, you always talk about these dog days. Oh, get through the first couple of days of free agency and then kind of goes quiet. Apparently not. So you're right. I was on a golf course in Kelowna when I saw the Arturs Silovs news break, and then can't recall where I was, but somewhere in the Okanagan when they moved off Dakota Joshua as well. So it turned out to be a fairly eventful week.
Well, based on your social media, you were either on a golf course or at the neighborhood brew pub in downtown Penticton. I've been tracking you, J-Pat, over the week.
Stalker.
Well, you see
more golf courses, more golf courses than
but
more golf courses than neighborhood. Although you're in Penticton on a Saturday night, how can you not?
Oh yeah,
or else you
go
go
patio. So yeah.
Yellow Dog, if not neighborhood. Okay, so we'll start with the Joshua trade. Your thoughts?
Yeah, waiting for the next shoe to drop, and I have to think that there is one, so it's hard to fully grade it, but I'm not surprised his name was out there. They needed to clear some cap space, and I guess if there's a disappointment for me, it's that I really wanted to see what a motivated Dakota Joshua was going to look like and do for the Vancouver Canucks after an offseason, and we all know why it was an offseason, but he never used the cancer diagnosis as any kind of excuse. He was apologetic for his season at the end of the year. And I thought, a full healthy summer to train and get ready and hit the ground running with a training camp. Look out. I mean, this is a guy that had 18 goals in 63 games, was a force in the playoffs, played really well in the playoffs the previous year against Nashville and Edmonton. And I wanted to see what he was going to look like when he regained sort of the top form. We'll now have to watch him from afar, I suppose, in Toronto. I like the move from Toronto's standpoint. I think at that acquisition price, why wouldn't you take a flyer on a big body who's got soft hands, who is a terrific penalty killer? And I think that's kind of lost a little bit in the shuffle here, is that he was one of the Canucks' top penalty killers. So I get why they made the move, but I need to see what's next for the Vancouver Canucks before I can fully give it a letter grade. I mean, it's a clear salary dump. We know that. And I guess after watching the Silovs deal, like, this is the summer of fourth-round draft picks. And so Dakota Joshua doesn't play here anymore. And it's unfortunate because, look, this isn't a team that has a ton of size. And I think what this move does is places more emphasis on the Evander Kane experiment to pan out for the Vancouver Canucks. Like, you know what you've got in Kiefer Sherwood. He's going to hit everything that moves. Evander Kane, if he's on and doing the things that he's done throughout his career, he can be a physical force. But beyond that, like, this isn't a group that has a ton of size or a ton of snarl up front. And I do think that was one of the frustrations of the Vancouver Canucks, was they wanted a little bit more of that from Dakota Joshua. And I'm not sure that it's totally in his DNA. He's a big body, but with the 18 goals and some of them spectacular variety, I think he thought he was a little bit more of an angler than he was a guy that was going to crush defensemen through the boards. And I think at times the Canucks were, I don't know if frustrated is the right word, but I think they thought there was more there, or that there ought to be more there. And so there were some inconsistency issues. And again, last year was almost a write-off for Dakota Joshua. He was selected the Canucks finalist for the Masterton and was super appreciative of that. I think, he understood sort of why he had been selected by the Vancouver chapter of the Professional Hockey Writers Association, and, recognizing the struggles that he had been through. But how many times have we talked about guys? It's like trying to jump on board without a training camp, and he missed the first month of the season. And really, when I look back at Dakota Joshua's season last year, so he misses the first month of the season. He's recovering from not just the physical side of testicular cancer, but the mental strain that I'm sure it placed on him. He played from the middle of November until early January, and then suffered a leg injury, battled through that, missed some time, battled through that. When he got back, they stopped again for the Four Nations. Like, his season was just stops and starts, and it never really felt like it launched at all last year. And so that's why I think he'll go away. He'll take the summer here, and he'll hit the ground running. And I would expect that he'll be a nice piece for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But what the Canucks do with that cap space they've gained, that remains this unanswered question.
Well, one of the first responses from the poll question was, guys, I wouldn't be surprised if they sit on it. I mean, I think most of us are thinking it's imminent. Is there any chance they just sit on us and have some cap space into this season?
I suppose, but we saw them accrue a ton of cap space and do nothing with it last year. And so I don't think this fan base would accept a second straight year of just squirreling away cap space and not making the most of it. But it is possible that they go into the season and see what happens, and see if there are teams that are underperforming, that are looking to, mix things up and get into the trade market. So as much as it seems on the surface like, hey, they can't go into the season with cap space and not address the center ice position, I suppose they could. They could wait to see sort of, if somebody shakes free just ahead of training camp. We know that 2 years ago, it was August when they found Pius Suter at a discounted rate. So it's not really a race. They don't play a game until October the 9th. But it does seem to me that one move was done with an eye to something else here. And yes, Jack Roslovic is obviously the name that's out there, but perhaps they have a plan B that, we just haven't unearthed yet. So we'll have to see where it goes. But if they go into the season, if they were to hold on to that money, Blake, and start the season, I think you have to be honest with yourself that this forward group, as constructed right here, right now, has some decent players, without a doubt, but the questions remain about which Elias Paterson they're getting back. And then if you start to compare to what's around them in the Pacific Division, again, they've got some decent forwards. They're lacking in star power, certainly compared to the top end teams. I mean, the Oilers, look what Vegas has done, adding Mitch Marner to Jack Eichel. And I don't know that anybody's putting the Canucks in the same conversation with the Oilers and the Vegas Golden Knights, but they're in the division. They're going to see them a bunch. And if they have designs on being a playoff team and then making some noise come playoff time, pretty good chance that they're going to run into one of those opponents.
So let's say it is Roslovic, and I can't give you contract details, Jeff, but let's say they just redistribute the money and go out and sign Jack Roslovic, who remains unsigned on the free agent market. How would that strike you?
I think if it's a shorter contract, a year or two, I'm fine with it. He's not a perfect player by any means, but he has played the position. He's a right shot center. This is a guy that they have been linked to in the past in his time in Columbus. I think they tried to pry him out of the Blue Jackets system. So obviously they like the player, and now it's a question of, at what cost. And I think now that we've passed the middle of July, it's hard to imagine that Jack Roslovic could command a massive term contract. So has he fallen between the cracks completely? It sort of seems that way, or at least it's moving in that direction. But no, I mean, I think, we've talked about flooding the position and just trying to find guys that can play at the National Hockey League level. I would feel better about the Vancouver Canucks at center ice with a Jack Roslovic in their stable than trying to move forward and start the season with, fill-ins from below. And again, as much fun as the Abbotsford run was, that Abbotsford run was built on the back of a goaltender that's not here anymore and a bunch of guys that are NHL tweeners. And I just think because they had success in Abbotsford, that doesn't mean that you plug them in at the NHL level and they're going to do what they did for 2 months at the American Hockey League level, but now in the NHL. Like, there are still questions about Linus Karlsson and Arturs Silovs and Max Sasson and ultimately what they can contribute. I'm not saying that there isn't a spot for them or that they shouldn't be given every opportunity to prove themselves, but if they were high scorers in the AHL, that doesn't necessarily translate to them stepping into, top line roles with the Vancouver Canucks, where Jack Roslovic is a National Hockey Leaguer without a doubt, and has been for a while now. So, again, I wouldn't want to commit long-term, and I don't think they would be looking to do that either at this stage. If you could get them on a year or a 2-year contract even at reasonable money, and it has to be because they don't have that much cap space, I think I'd be all in on Jack Roslovic, adding Jack Roslovic to this mix.
Arturs Silovs also traded while you were gone.
Can I just ask just one more on Joshua? Jeff, you mentioned the penalty killing element and how that has sort of been an underrated or at least an understated part of this. Pius Suter, their most used penalty killer, gone. Dakota Joshua, gone. So you're looking at Teddy Bluger, Kiefer Sherwood, Drew O'Connor. Those are the only 3 guys who played more than a minute on the shorthanded side of things per game last year. And then I guess Elias Paterson, right? Because someone's got to take faceoffs with Ratu getting worked on in. Where do you think they are penalty killing wise?
Yeah, they brought Connor Garland along, and that was an area that he added some to his game, so I would assume that he is in their plans. But you're right. When you look at just in terms of actual ice time while shorthanded last year, Pius Suter led all Canucks forwards. Dakota Joshua was up there. Danton Heinen, people forget, but he was one of their penalty killers for a while before he got moved out. JT Miller did some, but his penalty killing was under a microscope, but it was sort of being scaled back as well. But yes, Drew O'Connor for sure. And then, it becomes, I think, a bit of an audition on the fly here. But don't forget that this was a penalty kill that obviously sunk the Canucks for a couple of seasons. They built it into a strength of the hockey club, and now there's been all this turnover up front. So they still got key elements on the back end. They like to think that they've got goaltenders that'll provide them saves while shorthanded. But yeah, I'm going to be I think that's one of the sort of areas come training camp, and maybe we won't know even at training camp. Maybe it'll be till the preseason to get a sense of what direction they're going, who they might be thinking as an outside-the-box candidate, somebody that can work their way in. And when I go back to Abbotsford, guys like Archie Baines and Max Sasson did a fair bit of penalty killing down there, and so maybe that gives them a little bit of a leg up in terms of an area they can contribute if they're able to make the big league roster.
Yeah, Joshua was their 3rd most used penalty killer 2 seasons ago before his disjointed year last year.
The trade of Silovs just completes the summer that we saw coming when they extended Demko, but it allows us to look back now and think about the other paths that they could have chosen that would have given them a lot more cap space, but would have been a lot more flimsy in terms of the guarantees that they would provide themselves in goal. It was just the most likely of scenarios when you looked at it, because they want to be competitive this year, and this is the best way to be competitive in terms of the quality in goal.
Yeah, that move didn't surprise me. Maybe the timing did. Again, I thought NHL GMs were all hitting the golf course and going fishing. I thought this one might happen a little closer to training camp, the way Vasily Podkolzin did last summer. But not, look, I'm glad for Arturs Silovs. I hope that he gets a legitimate shot in Pittsburgh. They've got a fairly busy stable of goaltenders. A bunch of them are unproven. So if he can establish himself, and look, the Penguins understand the situation as well about waiver requirements and all those types of things. They didn't enter into that blindly. And for the Vancouver Canucks, they get a 4th-round pick and what we call him, a B prospect, former first-rounder that hasn't touched NHL ice yet. So I posted on social that it was an underwhelming return, and people jumped all over that. And look, I understand, like, that's the going market for unproven National Hockey League goaltenders this summer. That's just the way it is. The goaltending market is a strange one. I guess I had hoped that maybe the MVP of the American Hockey League playoffs was going to add a little bit of a surplus to whatever they could get in the way of a return, and maybe that was getting a warm body as well as the draft pick. Whatever the case, I think the Canucks, and Patrick Allvin said as much in his statement, like they were looking for Arturs Silovs' best interests here as well, to give him an opportunity to be a National Hockey League goaltender, because it wasn't going to happen out of training camp unless there are further injuries to one of the two guys ahead of him on the depth chart. So what a run. It was a ton of fun. The Artie party, not just in the AHL, but for him to do what he did, get thrust into the playoffs a spring ago, and then, of course, the World Championship. I mean, so many good stories with Arturs Silovs. We'll see if he can deliver now for the Pittsburgh Penguins. But for the Vancouver Canucks, yeah, they've hitched their wagon to both Thatcher Demko and Kevin Lankinen. And again, as Adam Foote comes in as not just a first-year NHL head coach, but a head coach who really doesn't have a ton of experience, I can understand why he would want the luxury of two proven guys. And really, you can't go wrong on a lot of given nights. I think the Canucks will feel that they've got an edge in goal, and they look like a team that's going to have success sort of from the net out. And so I understand all of it. But in the moment, when I saw the return, because I know at the draft, people were saying, oh, maybe Arturs Silovs can get them a late first rounder or a second rounder coming off the AHL playoffs. But again, that's the market speaks. The market dictates the price. And so he got what he got. I saw some people last week saying, really? Like Arturs Silovs for a 4th, Dakota Joshua for a 4th? Like, couldn't you package them up and do better than 2 4th-round draft picks? And I've got some time for that discussion at the very least. But ultimately, these moves have been made. And the Vancouver Canucks, I think they lead the league in 4th-round draft picks, although they're spread over, 2028 now? Is that what they got in return for
Doesn't
Dakota
even sound
Joshua?
like a real year, does it? That's not happening. 2028. What is this? No, it's a really weird department, the goaltender trades. I warned people about this before the trade happened. Like, be careful in thinking that Arturs Silovs is going to get, net you pay dirt here. But ultimately, it's the price that they have to pay to get out from underneath the contract and move on to this next generation of Demko and Lankinen.
And I think we also saw in both cases, guys, that particularly with Dakota Joshua, that with the escalating salary cap, no retention on the Canucks' part. And same with the Edmonton Oilers. They didn't have to retain on Vander Kane. Where in years gone by, obviously, if you wanted to move off the final 3 years of a contract of $3 million plus, you probably were going to have to make that a more attractive package. So this way, the Canucks are able just to flat out dump the contract of Dakota Joshua. He's now a Toronto Maple Leaf, and again, we'll see where all of this goes for the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, I mean, they take on Kane full freight, move Joshua full. I mean, there's part of me that really dislikes the fact they had to move money out after making the Kane move, after not getting the center, after bringing back Besser. Like, it just, I don't know, Jeff. We had this discussion last year. Does it seem like no plan again, or do you give them credit for being agile and responsive, responding
they
to
lost
the market,
years though, Matt,
even if they don't have the center iceman?
It's Kane's done after this year,
right?
Dakota's not. So.
Yeah, and look, I saw a lot of people saying, "Hey, this management group again," when they recognize that a contract a little too hefty, that they're able to move on. Yeah, but they were the same guys that signed Dakota Joshua to that contract a year ago, and Joshua was negotiating off an 18-goal season in 63 games. So good on him. I'm never going to begrudge a player for getting a contract at the National Hockey League level. But this group a year ago thought that he was worthy of a 4-year deal. And I know that there were stories then that they were a little bit uncomfortable getting to the 4th year of that deal and the amount. But again, I think they recognized that there was some potential there. The thing with Dakota Joshua is he's 29 years of age. He's got one NHL season over 30 points. So as good as he was in that one season, is that going to stand out as an outlier season for him? There have been some conditioning issues. Remember, Rick Tocchet made him a healthy scratch early in that season where they went into San Jose and they won 10-1, and Joshua wasn't part of that. And some of that, I think, had to do with the way that he came to camp and got his season started then. And then last year, obviously, separate category entirely, and nobody's going to hold that against him. But yeah, I mean, it comes back to this idea that, what exactly is Dakota Joshua? Had we seen the best of him already, or is there more to give with this player? But that, I said it earlier, I do wonder about some nights and opponents pushing the Canucks around a little bit, and Dakota Joshua certainly set himself apart just by virtue of the size that he brought. I know the Canucks, Drew O'Connor's got some size, but Drew O'Connor's not a terribly aggressive player. That doesn't seem to be who he is. And so, are some other guys going to have to step out of their comfort zone? Perhaps. The last thing you want, teams taking liberties, and we saw that last year at times. Was there enough of a deterrence with Quinn Hughes when teams were taking runs at the captain? So, again, this is not a finished product. It remains a work in progress, but I am curious to see. And that's why I think it does place a premium on Evander Kane delivering on the final year of his contract.
Yeah, we talked about it in the opening block. If Dakota Joshua has the season he had 2 years ago, prorated over 82, that's 23 goals, 42 points, and you're delighted to pay 3.25 for that. If he has the season he had last year, it's 10 goals, 20 points, and you're probably happy.
And I'm glad you brought up his age, because they have 2 more candidates in this sort of age group that are going to be UFAs in Teddy Bluger and Kiefer Sherwood. We already heard Bluger rumors a little bit. So I don't think there's a risk of them extending Teddy Bluger per se, but I have heard Kiefer Sherwood extension talks, just from the fans and mulled around by reporters. And I don't care if he goes off to on another 20-goal pace here, Jeff. Like, Kiefer Sherwood is going to want a significant raise on $1.5 million. And the Vancouver Canucks should not be the team that gives that to him, as he's now past the age of 30.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough. You sign a guy and he does everything that you ask of him. Of course, he's going to want to raise, but you're right. In this world, you have to be careful of bottom 6 forwards. I'll be really curious if he can come anywhere close to the 19 goals that he scored. I mean, he was terrific for the Vancouver Canucks in terms of consistency and just bringing that edge and grit and, developed into a bit of a penalty killer when we talked about guys on the PK as well. So, has he earned a raise? Yeah. But again, not knowing what the dollars are, you have to be mindful, certainly of that. But, I just wonder if it all came together for Kiefer Sherwood last year. Can he come anywhere close to sort of being the player? I was amazed last year that dishing out that many hits didn't take its toll on him. Like, I thought as much as he's exacting a measure of punishment on players, I mean, it takes something out of you as well to throw that many hits. But I think he missed 4 games. He was remarkably durable that way. But I think it probably showed him last year what's capable, that this is a guy that I think had been pigeonholed earlier in his career as, okay, yeah, he was a scorer at the American Hockey League level, but if he's going to be, in the NHL, he's going to have to grind. And then last year, he sort of broke the mold himself. And so Really interesting to see what he can do. And I know that right around July 1st, there were some talks about, hey, maybe they extend him as well. That seems to have died a little bit. And I do wonder if the Canucks are, they weren't seemingly in that mindset of taking a wait-and-see approach on Thatcher Demko or Connor Garland or anybody else. There was a rush to get those deals done, but it doesn't feel like it's the same when it comes to Kiefer Sherwood.
You mentioned the two goaltenders they're going forward with and how Adam Foote has to feel comfort in that as a first-time NHL coach. Patrick Alvin was talking last week, Jeff, that they're feeling comfort in that tandem because 13 sets of back-to-backs, 13 sets of 3 games in 4 nights, 3 sets of 4 games in 6 nights, this condensed schedule that's coming out. I know you like to pour through it. Mm-hmm. When you've had several days here, J-Pad, what stands out to you about the schedule?
Yeah, even on holiday, I set aside a little bit of time to really dig into the schedule. I wrote a piece at Canucks Army as well, if people want to go take a look there. But there were a couple of things right off the hop. Getting the Calgary Flames on opening night, it's a repeat of last year, but interesting that the Flames play the night before in Edmonton, so it's not opening night for the Calgary Flames, and in a season where every point matters, and Canucks and the Flames could very well be duking it out again as they were last year, they probably avoid Dustin Wolf on opening night, right? Like, he probably gets the Oilers on the very first game of the season for the Calgary Flames, and so maybe that's a little bit of a break there. You'd like to think that the Canucks will be up and ready for their home opener. We all remember last year, one of the most entertaining games of the season, as it turned out, on opening night with the 6-5 Calgary comeback. But just the start of the season, they're at home to Calgary. They go to Edmonton. They come back for a Thanksgiving Monday afternoon game, a 4:30 start at Rogers Arena on Thanksgiving Monday against the St. Louis Blues. Then they head out on their first real road trip of the season. And I don't know if you guys have looked how it starts, but in Dallas and in Chicago back-to-back. Like, on a map, Dallas way down there, Chicago, like, that's
same time zone at least.
But it is in the same time zone, but it's 2.5-hour flight there. And then the third leg of that trip, so they start with back-to-backs, and the third leg is one of those early morning Pacific time starts in Washington. So it's really 3 games in 3.5 days as they bounce around. So, I'll be curious to see. We know that starts of the season haven't necessarily been the Canucks' friend. When I think back to Bruce Boudreau and the 7 straight losses out of the gate and how that took on a life of its own. But really, when I looked at the schedule, I mean, even in a condensed year with the Olympics, I guess the 2 lengthy homestands surprised me a little bit, just because there's a stretch there from late January through March, and the Olympics are included in there, but 19 of 24 games on home ice. Like, that just feels like it to me. We know they struggled at home last year. They have to find a way to grind out results and keep their head more than above water, because the way the season ends, and I know a lot's been made of this as well, but I just think anybody objectively looking at the schedule, what do they finish with? 14 games against teams in the conference. I think final 11 games are against teams in the Pacific Division. And on top of that, 8 of those final 11 are out on the road. When you play 19 to 24 at home, at some point you're going to have to make it up and get it out on the road and pack the suitcases. 8 of their final 11 are on the road. So if they are right there, if they're hanging into a playoff spot, they're going to have to find a way to get the job done over the final 3 weeks of the season, where most of those games are against divisional foes and out on the road. And that will not be easy, but hey, everybody starts at the start, everybody ends at the end, and then it's just, everybody's got quirks within their schedule, and it's sort of a story of, where are those pockets that jump out at you. That final 11-game stretch with 8 of 11 on the road, that was one that absolutely hopped off the page when I feel
8 of 11, 6 of 9, 4 of the last 5.
I feel like the risk is that the Canucks are just going to move their road record to the home and the home record to the road. Like, the Canucks were very good on the road. There's nothing wrong with 21-14-6. That's what.
No, remember Kevin Lankin? Remember Kevin Lankin won his first 10 road games last year? Like, that's probably going to be difficult to repeat. So you're right. They got off to a nice start. They found ways to grind out a bunch of victories. Took overtime and a few of them, but whatever the case, they were wins. But yeah, there's certainly room for improvement on the home record, but you do wonder if it comes at the expense of sort of how decent they were, particularly early in the schedule.
Basically the same road record as the division champ Vegas Golden Knights.
Yep. And Jeff, I hope you're up for all those matinees at Rogers Arena this year as well.
Well, and how about a Thanksgiving Friday in the States in San Jose? Not a holiday in Canada, but they're playing a 1:00 start on that Thanksgiving Friday. which is a little like, why would you stick a Canadian team in there and ask their fan base to carve out time to view when you've got all the American opponents that could easily slide in? And whatever.
Jeff, the answer is turnabout is fair play. They got St. Louis here on Canadian Thanksgiving in a matinee, although I suppose it is 6:30 in St. Louis when that game faces off. Anyways, plenty to discuss, unpack, and of course we await the other shoe to drop on the Joshua trade. J-Pat, welcome home. Thanks for this. Catch up soon.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Caterson Price from the historic Wall Center. Game night? Make it a game weekend. Turn that ticket into a downtown getaway with a special Caterson Price right here at the Wall Center. Book your stay now, 604-331-1000. Say you heard it here. Some blackout dates apply based on availability. As we get into the golf report, brought to you by the Arnold Palmer Design Whistler Golf Club, Scotty Scheffler with a romping 4-shot victory at the Open Championship Royal Portrush, his 4th career major, his 2nd this season. He's now just the U.S. Open away from the career Grand Slam. And I ask you, Blake Price, do we now have to start talking about him as one of the greats in contemporary global sport and in golf? Because he is on a Tiger Woods-esque run right now. I'm not sure you saw the stat from Kyle Porter, CBS. Scotty from 2022 to now, 81 events, 20 wins, 4 majors, 2 players, 2.8 strokes gained per round. Tiger from 02 to 05, 79 events, 18 wins, 4 majors, 0 players, 2.8 strokes gained per round. And then there's that crazy stat.
The days?
Yes. It took Tiger 1,197 days to win his 4th major after his first, the exact same number of days for Scotty Scheffler to go from his first major to his 4th. Now, as he said in the press conference yesterday, he's at 15 majors, I'm at 4, like slow the roll. And Scotty's now closed out 10 straight 54-hole leads. Tiger did that 37 straight times. So there's still a lot of daylight between Scotty Scheffler and Tiger Woods. But I ask you, like, is Scheffler better at golf than McDavid is at hockey, than Mahomes is at football, than Ohtani is at baseball? Like, he's right there in that mix.
He's in that mix. There's a little less mystique than Tiger. Tiger would annihilate competition. He is merely delivering beatdowns. I think those are 2 different things.
Okay.
two different levels of mastery and of dominance. And Tiger's ability to just torch around. What stands out for Scheffler is just his ridiculous consistency.
Yes.
And for a swing that has feet moving as much as his, that shouldn't be.
It's incredible. Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible.
There's so much variable possible in his swing, and yet there's just no variable in his scores. Like he's beaten. We were talking. He's beaten not in the final round, over the weekend. He's beaten by several players in the top 10, including Canadian Corey Connors, who had a better weekend than Scotty Scheffler. Problem is, all of his rounds are good.
Yep.
A lot of those other players had bad first rounds, and it just wasn't enough.
Never a bad round and never a step back. So he now does have that mystique atop the scoreboard, the leaderboard. Guys know. Got to make something happen here because Scotty's not coming back to the field. You've got to go out and catch the rabbit.
I need 4 good rounds. And that's, most guys don't get 4 good rounds, or they get 4 good rounds. Rory was not bad the whole week. Rory was good the whole week, but he wasn't very good the whole week. Scotty Scheffler is very good every single day, or at worst, he's good. And Rory was just good for 4 days.
He has turned himself into a good putter, Scotty Scheffler. He was a poor putter for a while there. He is now one of the best drivers of the golf ball on tour when you take in length, height, accuracy. But to me, the place where he really stands out, especially vis-a-vis Rory, is the approach shot and the irons play. Scotty Scheffler is world-class, like Tiger level. Rory's anything but. I'm not sure it would have mattered yesterday because the lead was so big to Rory. But 8th hole, Rory hits a ball 350 yards off the tee. Like, the announcers are gobsmacked at where it is. Best drive of the week. He's got 115 yards in with a wedge in his hand. He is 20 to 25 feet short of the pin. Makes par. 9, he drives the ball to 93 yards. Once again, has a wedge in his hand. Is 15 to 20 feet short and makes par. Rory is consistently down the fairway past people in good position and consistently does not get that wedge shot close enough to make more birdies. Mm-hmm. That is one of the huge separators between them right now. Other thing I'll say about the Open Championship, a star is born. Not Scotty. Hao Tong Li of China, who plays with Scotty. Did you hear this guy on the weekend? I loved what Kevin Kistner said about him in the broadcast booth. He's an energetic, animated player. Is he ever? He finishes his round on Saturday and just basically tells the press gallery, well, with a good round tomorrow, I think I can finish second. Basically just gifting the tournament to Scotty. After Scotty throws a dart, I think it was on the 3rd or 4th hole, Hao Tong Li is sitting there joking with, almost like Idol was fanboying him as they walk up to the next tee.
He's
quite a character. He was
not for
so
Sheffler,
much
though.
fun.
He's very confident. Like he carries him. He's a strapping guy, good-looking guy.
He is.
And you just, he would be great if not for Sheffler.
He had a shallow period for 8 years. At 21, he was contending in a couple of majors. Had a very shallow period. He was back. Blake, on 17, the drivable par 4, he hits the ball. He goes, oh, yeah. He's like talking to himself like one of us. Like, oh, yeah, I got that one right down the middle. That one should be great.
And then there's Chris Gotterup, who...
More of Hao Tong Li, please. He was great fun.
Then there's 26-year-old Chris Gotterup, who wins the Scottish and is right there again at the Open. So we've discovered somebody new there as well.
He is a big boy who hits a big ball, that Gotterup. He was impressive as well. So there you go. There's your major championships in the world of golf this year. And what I will say is the Open Championship could use some better finishes here. We've had some romping victories of late. We used to say this about the Masters. So like to see the Open Championship a little more competitive going forward. But Rory McIlroy, 2 for Scotty, and J.J. Spawn.
When the scoring is easy, the cream rises to the top pretty clearly.
Yep.
And when it's hard for everybody, it gets dumbed down, right? So that's the difference, is that it was really easy week.
It was really easy because of the weather.
Yes.
Like, if there is any knock on Royal Portrush after it is returned to the Open and hosted 2 of them now, it's that we haven't had a close finish yet. Scotty wins in a romp. Shane Lowry wins in a romp. That is a tougher golf course and a tougher scoring course than what we saw this week because the weather was so nice, Blake.
It was gorgeous.
It's a little bit of rain over it, but the wind was not as punishing as it could be.
Sun was out. But things were still pretty receptive.
Yep.
Like it was just an easy week.
It's a fun course, though. I do like it. Golf Report brought to you by the Arnold Palmer Design Whistler Golf Club. Blake will be up there tomorrow. Yeah. Looking forward to that. Now taking bookings for any time during the 2025 season. The prime time's filling up fast. Whether you're golfing or just visiting Whistler, check out Palmer's Gallery Bar and Grill, overlooking the 18th green, home of Whistler's best burger. Some awesome local beers there as well. Shady spot. Watch the golf. Maybe see some wildlife. And if you have a group of 12 or more, tell us about your group, whistlergolf.com/groups. Whitecaps can't close out in the battle of number 1 versus number 2 in the MLS West. They draw San Diego 1-1, remain in second place, 1 point back of the expansion franchise. Berhalter and Ocampo create the Caps goal, which goes
just spectacular on the play.
Which goes down as an own goal because Matias Laborda is crossing it to Brian White. It ricochets off a San Diego defender. I mean, it is an extraordinary world-class through ball from Sebastian Berhalter, and then Ocampo's first couple of touches just
all at the same foot.
He is growing up before our eyes, Ocampo.
I think it was 3 touches. 3 touches with the right foot, splitting the defenders, jumping through, setting up, and then whipping it all. I mean, it was amazing. And, sad to lose Pedro Vite midseason here for the Vancouver Whitecaps, but opportunity will abound elsewhere, and they're bringing in Kenji here from Peru. So it changes, but I suspect that this team will still be very good down the stretch, and it can't be that far away for Ryan Gauld.
No.
One game and then a 2-week break for the Whitecaps. So, I mean, you said right. This is pretty rare for the top guys to go down to MLS Next Pro. I'd almost be tempted to send Ryan Gauld to MLS Next Pro to get a match in. We'll see.
Yeah, the home team San Diego gets the equalizer here in the 79th minute. Somebody must have missed a mark at the top of the box. There was just tons of space there for San Diego players. And no blood weekend. Minnesota draws as well, so the top three stays intact. Vancouver goes 2 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw in their 5-game MLS road trip.
Which is not horrific.
No, and now the schedule sets up very nicely. Home to Kansas City Saturday, then a 2-week break before a road match in San Jose. 3 of their next 4 opponents are below the playoff bar in the West, and San Jose's on the final playoff spot. 3 of the next 4 are at BC Place. Bad news about Ranko Veselinovic. He had a knock after the Houston match last Wednesday. He had to leave this game with injury in the 34th minute. You mentioned Emmanuel Veth, the transfer market has it, the 22-year-old Peruvian winger, Kenji Cabrera, coming for $1.2 million. Axel Schuster did say that club will reinvest Pedro Vite's $7 million transfer fee. They also lost out on Serbian midfielder Petar Stanic, who signed with the Bulgarian side.
As people pointed out, have you seen Vancouver and have you seen Bulgaria?
I mean, I'm sure Sofia is lovely in the spring, but
okay.
I don't even know that the team is based in Sofia.
I would suggest that proximity to home is probably a big factor there, more so than.
In fact, before Yerke puts me on E's and O's, where is this team based?
Lugarets, isn't that where you went?
Razgrad.
Oh, Razgrad. Okay.
Razgrad. Mm-hmm. To each their own.
Yep.
BC Lions fall 33-27 in Saskatchewan at BC Place Saturday. A score that flattered the home team. Fell behind 17-1 in the first quarter. TSN ran the graphic. The Lions are being severely outscored, outplayed in the opening stanza by 30-plus points. They're down 12 at the half. They're down 22 with less than 20 minutes left in the game as Saskatchewan comes out of the locker room scoring. Rourke throws for 337 yards and 3 TDs, but this was not his best. And the defense gives up 500 yards to Trevor Harris in that Riders O. They didn't punt till the fourth quarter. Announced attendance 28,983. Didn't look that full. Upper deck was open, but hardly anybody was up there. BC now 3-4, 2.5 games back of Saskatchewan for first place, who own the season series tiebreaker now. Talked about that last week. Also 2.5 back of Calgary. They haven't faced the Stamps yet. They're a game back of Winnipeg, but it's 2 in the loss column, and they have already lost the tiebreaker there as well. They now face first place in the East after their win in Ottawa last night, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, in a home-and-home series. This is separated by a bye for the Leos. The first one is Sunday here at BC Place. And BC now playing 6 consecutive games against the East Division. This home-and-home with Hamilton, then they're home to the Alouettes, they're at Toronto, and then a home-and-home with the Ottawa Red Blacks that takes us past Labor Day.
They don't have much of a personality, these Lions.
Well,
I don't.
It's supposed to be Nathan Rourke. And look, I stopped short of saying he's all the way back last week because the win was over Edmonton. Not quite there yet. I still think he has the goods. I still think you're looking at one of, if not the best quarterbacks in the Canadian Football League.
The stats end up being fine at the end of the day.
Yeah,
of course,
but you're playing catch-up, so the passing yard, there's a lot of empty calories there.
Yeah, and it's prevent defenses, and it's...
Yeah, and just when you think they have the defensive issues solved, they give up yards like that. It's been too easy at different times for the opposition on offense, just marching the ball down the field on BC. And look, you also got to wonder, how's the Canadian content going to hold up? I mean, we've talked about it all year. Starting 7 Canadians, that's the bare minimum. Oftentimes you're starting more than that in the early part of the season to create that depth. And insulate yourself versus injuries. Boy, this is a big one here going into the bye. You want to be 4-4 going into that bye. If they are 3-5, they lose this game to Hamilton, which would be a third home loss this year at BC Place. They've already lost to Winnipeg at home. Now they've lost to Saskatchewan at home. That would leave quite a sour taste in mouths heading into Hamilton after the bye.
Yeah.
Toronto Blue Jays sweep the San Francisco Giants this weekend. Now a club record 10 straight home wins after a third straight series sweep at the Rogers Center. They are 22-4 at home over their last 8 series, and now welcome the second-place Yankees, who trail by 3 games. The trade deadline just 10 days away. The Jays expected to be active in the pitchers market. Seattle Mariners 4 games back of Houston after taking 2 of 3 this weekend. They're expected to be active in the trade market seeking bats. The Vancouver Canadians lost 2 of 3 to Spokane at the Nat this weekend, which saw the debut of Victoria's Sam Shaw. He played center field. He led off. He had 2 hits and an RBI on Saturday. Catching prospect Edward Duran, also up from Dunedin. Jays have high hopes from him. He's a tremendous thrower of the baseball. He led the low A league, Class A league, in caught base runners. Seas now start the biggest series of the season. They host first place Eugene at the Nat this week, starting tomorrow night in a 7-game set. That's right, 7 games this week. They're trailing the Emeralds by 5 games in the second half standings. It's Pride Night tomorrow, and then a special Thursday nooner, which kicks off a doubleheader. Thursday nooner, Friday nooner this week at the Nat. Was there Friday, sold out game. Saturday, sold out. They're selling out these games routinely now, 6,000 plus at the Nat. We always tell you, plan, get your tickets ahead of time, 604-872-5232 or CanadiansBaseball.com. Are you getting the feeling this could be? The other thing about the Blue Jays, their recent games are doing more than $1 million on television now, huh?
Yeah.
Like the buzz is starting, and as we know, they have a coast-to-coast audience.
Starting to get pulled in myself a little bit more. So I've watched way more baseball this summer than I have certainly the last one.
For sure.
Interesting, too, down the I-5. Was it Softy or is it, I think it was Softy.
Yes.
That said, tweeted out, if the Mariners make the World Series, it will put to shame the hype around the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. And I couldn't disagree more. I mean, I remember the Mariners going on playoff runs there in the 90s. It was big, but I don't think it outran what we saw with the Seahawks dominance.
I think what he's saying is that you could see it's coming with that Seahawks team. You knew it was one of the elite teams in the National Football League. The Mariners, of course, have never been to a World Series in their 47-year history.
But taking on the Yankees in the ALCS?
No, for sure.
That was a big
for sure.
moment.
But, you know, they're the only franchise not to get to a World Series, right? So, like, breaking that door down and finally getting to that point, especially with this team, which everybody thought, look, the pitching is great, but the hitting is not going to be good enough.
I think that's probably the point he was trying to make, was that they've never been there after banging their head against the wall. I mean, you know, Canucks and winning the Stanley Cup. I mean, it's similar, I guess, there. But it'll be interesting to watch both of these teams. I mean, it would be a fun collision. Imagine an ALCS. They've already recently played each other in the playoffs, but an ALCS with a spot in the World Series on the line, that would be... This city actually would feel that. Like, we would actually...
Oh, yeah, for sure. We'd be ground zero in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
Between Blue Jays fans and Mariners fans.
We'll see. A lot of games left. Let's hope that neither side... pooped.
I mean, if that's the case, Blake, we may have to have an a cappella rendition of OK Blue Jays.
From you? Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to stick myself in the middle of that politics.
You're not going to join?
No.
You're not going to join in?
No. Yeah. No, I don't think so.
Whistler Golf Club poll question from Thursday. Who plays more games this season, Victor Mancini or Tom Wielander? The people said.
They'll be hopeful, so we'll say Wielander.
No, they said Mancini.
Did they really?
67% said Mancini.
Really?
Willie says Mancini by a country mile. Belka says the kid they drafted 11th overall should get the minutes. He's the future in any case. Callie Canuck, I'd say Mancini, but there's a good chance he's a sweetener in a deal later this summer, given the depth on the back end and the reluctance to trade other prospects. Yeah. Matt, Wielander will be given every opportunity to play more games. Colin voted Mancini. I think Wielander having one season in Abbotsford could be very beneficial to his development as opposed to rushing him to be the 7th or 8th defenseman.
Good restraint voters, because usually it just goes to the guy with the higher ceiling and the higher pedigree and all that sort of thing. Right?
No, there were intelligent comments too.
Yeah.
Errors and omissions, we have 3. We had an issue with Patrick Johnston's video on Thursday, crapped out on us at the end. We had an issue with our video on the emergency Dakota Joshua pod. You'll have to forgive us. We were trying to make good with
the circumstances.
Yes.
Did our best.
Shout out and thank you, Gary Nettergaard of Northlands. I had to invade his office and record from there for the second time. Actually, did that a couple of years ago with the OEL.
And my cell phone overheated in my car, and by the time I got it back online, it clearly was not behaving properly.
And we were set on that emergency episode. Curtis Lazar. Was he the previous administration or this one? Nope, he was this one.
One of the first summer moves of its first summer,
Yep. Appreciate you joining the program here today, spending some time with us. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Follow on social. That's X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky Live on many of those platforms. Noon Pacific time weekdays, no Fridays anymore. And, of course, support the community sponsors you hear us talking about. Keep it local.